It's like sitting down with an old friend. It's so good to see you, Ro.
Very good to see you,
yeah,
Tracy.
And
Thank
it's been a while.
It has been a while.
So first and foremost, as all friends do, fill me in on what Ro Walker has been doing in the last, well, it's been like 2 years?
Yeah, approximately.
Yeah.
Last time we saw each other was a Day of Pink, right?
Yeah.
At Dakota Collegiate.
Yeah.
And we were celebrating, talking a little bit about gender neutral washrooms.
Exactly.
Because we had gotten those in University of Winnipeg, so we were celebrating.
I know.
In those last 2 years, though, I made a big decision to actually move away from Winnipeg and move to Toronto, you know, quote unquote, the big city, as they say, and try and just make something out of that, because I've been making a lot of music, and Toronto's a big hub for music. Not to say Winnipeg isn't. I am back home now, and we'll talk about that too. So that was a big thing, is living in Toronto for a year by myself.
Whoa, right downtown? Like?
Yeah, definitely in the mix of things, and working a very interesting job that we can either talk about or not talk about.
Well, yeah, I want to know.
Do you want to know?
Yeah.
Okay. With legalization around the corner, I was actually working in a dispensary in Toronto. So it was a very interesting environment. But I'm just very happy that legalization is coming and we can do things the proper way. Right? So I'm glad to be back home. So that was how I was making a living, quote unquote, or trying to pay the high Toronto rents.
And what is the scene like? Is it as, you know, we think it is, or, I mean, how did you fit in?
I mean, I rarely fit in, but that's a good thing, I think, for my music to stand out. But in terms of like meeting new people and trying to work my way in, it's a little bit tougher than you would think, because in my music, I'm actually talking about my experiences as a trans man through my lens. And if you don't really get that, or like understand me, or at least treat me with some respect, we're obviously not going to jive and make music well together. That's just baseline stuff, right? So I did have to like practice who I would come out to and who I wouldn't, and that was the biggest lesson in Toronto, was going there as this guy now, no one knowing, knowing, and just going and just seeing what life is like that. I needed to do it to really understand and appreciate how much coming home means to me, and sitting down with someone who knows a bit about my story, right? It just, that's the stuff that fills me. And so I'm back. That's why I'm back.
And you know, I think for a lot of reasons, we, and I'm speaking we, that, you know, I guess the people outside are trying to figure this out, and it's like, I don't want to figure it out anymore. I want to know you as a person, Ro, as Ro today. You know, the past is always the past, and you know, you learn from your past, but how is Ro today, and what can, and how is the world treating you, and how are you embracing things? And obviously, you know, we're going to get to some of the projects you're doing, but you know, first of all, when you're in Toronto, no one knows you, and we're like that too. No one knows me. I could be anybody.
Totally, yes. People, everyone fantasizes about that. Yeah, totally.
Obviously, people were surprised, you know, or people knew what.
Like once I told people I felt safe with, usually girls at work, right, just a little bit more friendly. Immediately, they would kind of see a bit of themselves in me, because I've lived that life, right? And that's what I want from connections with girls mostly, is like, yes, I date women, but I also want just friendship, that like understanding of like, I've been in your shoes a little bit, and I'm fighting for your side on this side, you know what I'm saying?
Which can be dangerous too.
Oh boy.
Because you might know way too much.
I know a lot, but it works in a good way, because when I'm in rooms, let's say with all men, locker room situations or whatever it is, I can kind of keep my ground, and my stance is like, you know, you've kind of gone too far, and reel people back in when they say things that are just not appropriate. And you know, if they're culturized that way, that locker room talk or whatever, they talk about women that they slept with, like the way you talk about people is showing how you value them and what you think about them. So I tend to try and like be a bit of like Sherlock Holmes, you know, like kind of see where they really lie in terms of their values before I come out to it.
So in other words, are you a better man, Ro?
I hope so, because that was the whole goal, was if I'm gonna become another, white guy in this privileged world, living in Canada, like not being in poverty, like if I'm gonna embody that, you got to do it right because you have every advantage.
Yeah.
Right? So even as a trans man, having that maybe be something as a vulnerability, there's people that are trans that are way more vulnerable than I. Yeah. Because maybe they have intersections of discrimination, as in like being a person of color and being trans. Maybe they have another disability on top of that. Like there's layers to people, right? So I'm realizing like you've got a lot that you could give here. Like you've got resources within yourself, like people who support me. I'm fortunate, right?
Yeah, no, and you know what? You're very true, is finding your strengths and what you have to offer as a person. Yeah. And I think, you know, now that you're an advocate and, you know, and getting your message out has helped so many as well. But let's now focus on Row 2 and some of the things you're doing. The music. Yeah. Is crazy.
The music is coming together.
But were you always in music, or?
I'll tell you how they progressed. It was really just like, I grew up playing basketball at the highest level I could. Even University of Winnipeg women's basketball team. That was my dream. I played, and then my dreams started shifting because I wasn't fitting in that environment anymore. It was no longer satisfying my identity. Basketball was my identity, and I'm at U of W, a thriving art school, right? And I'm able to kind of find myself by doing a bit of like slam poetry. Like I really liked that art form, and you could tell a story and it wasn't too structured, and like I really liked it. So I had an opportunity to do like open mics, stuff like that. Cool. And then I thought, I've always been into hip hop. Kind of goes hand in hand with the basketball, right? Yeah. You're listening to the music while you play, while you get ready, while you're pumped up. And I thought, could I translate spoken word poetry into hip hop? Yeah. And with like, it's been 5 years now that I've been doing it, and I think I finally like started to master the craft. Like just, you know what I mean? Like just really tightening it together and being like, oh, I can make music too. And that's not even just to like be boastful, but like to realize that you can be good at more than one thing. Don't restrict yourself. I grew up thinking I could only do one thing, right?
Check one box only.
Right. And my mom was always great in saying, you're not just a basketball. Yeah. You can be great at anything you want to do. I never went even into music because I was put off by the idea of like mastering an instrument. That wasn't really my thing. So I was in art class. Yeah. And I was at Westwood Collegiate, and that's an arts high school. So you can, plenty of time to find your creative space. I mean, and I think blending the art background with the spoken word, and like basketball kind of teaches you a confidence, right? A little bit of swag, right? The identity part. And I was like, this feels right. Like making music just feels right. Now I'm in like this beautiful position where I have a studio in my basement and I can just record whenever I want.
Oh, and the beauty of YouTube or whatever, you can pump it out.
Nowadays, you're right. You can do it very quickly.
And then your messaging too, right? You know, it's like your stories and everything like that is, you know, it's far different than the commercial end of it, and you know, people understanding you, which now goes into, I hear you're an entrepreneur sort of thing.
Yeah, so to speak. Yeah. Of course. I started my transition, and my top surgery was like the main thing to me was like, I want this to feel comfortable. And it wasn't for a few years until I felt like I want to fill out my clothes in a different way. And I was actually starting to take Noah, my brother with autism, swimming, and we'd go to the hot tubs and stuff. And I just thought, I want to fill out my boxers the way I should, because why not? It's my body. I can feel comfortable how I want. So these things called Packers already existed. These are already being made. But how you get that to be like feel like it's a part of your body, and you're not going to like lose it if you're
like
being
an appendage
active,
or something.
Or like going to do a cannonball and it like floats to the top of the pool. Like, no, we wanted to just like reduce risk of that stuff, and like I just wanted to feel comfortable. So I had a prototype that was just literally a sock, the end of a sock with a hole in it. And I was pinning that to my underwear or my boxers. And that, I mean, with Kaylin, my business partner, she was like, we can make this a way better. like, hey, young man, like this is not hot. Like this is not this, like up your game, you know? Yeah. And so she challenged herself on the sewing machine, made a few prototypes. I'd never even tackled a sewing machine, and now that's part of my business, is actually creating from different fabrics these packing pouches.
Yes.
Right?
Hence the name Joey.
Hence the name Joey, right? It's a little packing pouch where, you know, your little guy is, you know, that's the Joey. We're trying to make it cute and accessible because it's a kind of like taboo topic. Maybe people don't want to talk about that, but it's just something that people are very curious about.
Yeah, curious, and we don't realize it. Like all of the things that, you know, that you have gone through and will continue to do so, right? Because it's never completely over.
No, the transition is ongoing and everyone is very different, and at certain points you may not want to be packing. I certainly wasn't, and then once I got the hang of it, I was like, when I'm not packing I feel awkward. So now it's become a sense of comfort. It's a comfort thing. And that's important for identity. Because who's to say I ever want bottom surgery, right? Or right? Like who's to say what I may decide to do with my physical body? So if I'm using a Joey, it's all good. It's just like my day is easier. So once we kind of put this idea out there on the internet, I mean, we didn't have a website or anything to start. We just had pictures and email us orders.
And word of mouth.
Word of mouth, totally. That's been our big winners, word of mouth, because the trans community online knows how to find each other.
Well, that's good.
Definitely.
And I think that, you know, and you need to create a safe environment, right?
You do.
Before people will start to open up. And there is definitely a vulnerability, and there's a vulnerability in all of us. But I guess if we look at things now, you've been to Toronto, you come back here. I know there's still things to overcome. What do you still see glaring here, or, you know, that we could do so much better?
Like as Winnipeg as a whole?
As Winnipeg as a whole, even beyond Winnipeg, Ro.
Yeah, I think Winnipeg almost doesn't know how cool we are. We're starting to get an idea, like just even seeing, I'm not even a big hockey fan, but seeing people support the Jets in a way that's like our city. Like we're putting on Winnipeg. It doesn't matter if it's hockey or not. Like, you're from Winnipeg, we want to see you win. So for hip hop, there's actually a lot of great hip hop happening here. There's a group called the Lytics. I mean, they're buzzing all over. So I mean, we got to give respect. There's a young guy, Chris Bennett. He can rap his butt off. His live show is amazing. So like, there's talent here. And whether I'm connecting with them or not, the fact that it's here means I can be here too.
Exactly.
Music is storytelling. You either like a song or you don't. It's got a groove you like or you don't. And I really believe that the music's going to help bridge my life and perspective to people who don't necessarily grasp it. And then for the ones who are trans themselves, I think it's going to help get them through a lot of things, because I've poured a lot of things out in the music as one does, right? Like as an artist, So
are you in a happy spot now?
Yeah, definitely.
You look it. You look
Thank you. Yeah, no, I feel great. It took a while to get here, but that's the advice I'd give to someone, is like, if you know and you see yourself being, you know, whether it's trans or not, like following a dream even. I'm trying to tap into that dreamer in you. Like, you can do a job, quote unquote, and it won't even feel like a job. Tracy, this is your job. This doesn't feel like a job. This is fun. Right? So it's like, for me, connecting with trans guys that want my help, that's fulfilling to me. And with music, performing is obviously exhilarating, fun. You get to share a message. Like, I've made that my job, and I went to university and got a degree and still believe in education, but also, like, if your dream is a business or this thing, like, you can go for it. You can do it. I had no idea, you know, like the reach of the internet and how many trans guys are even around the world. I mean, we've got a global map that we check off countries. We've been in Israel, we've been in Brazil, we've been in Norway, like we're everywhere. And some of those guys, you gotta just go, wow, you probably have a really different life than me, you know, like sending off that package with a bit of good wishes. It was cool.
Well, it is very cool to see you now. I mean, it was amazing to meet you back then, but I can't believe what 2 years can do.
I agree. I mean, I did a lot of growing up, just in general, and I mean, as far as physically, I'm pretty much no different. No new surgeries, no new nothing, but just a little bit more facial hair growth that I am persistent to keep.
Well, I just thought it was a playoff beard, though.
And you know what? It's gotten the approval of my mother, so it's all good. You know,
Oh, hey.
She's like, I have very high standards for how
Yeah.
well kept you should be.
Oh.
All right, I approve. You know, kind of teasing me still, but
Yeah.
embracing my boyish looks or my just
Yes.
me being her son.
Oh.
It's cool. It's a blessing.
Wow.
Totally. Totally high five.
I
Whitney.
know, high five. More than a high five. It was so great to see you, Ro.
Good to
Thank
catch
you.
up.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and thanks to the Amsterdam Tea Room. We'll have to order some tea.
Right?
Yeah, cheers.
Normally I cheers with a drink,
Oh,
a
I
proper
know.
drink, but you know.
Yeah.